Oh, grains. Yes, here we go again. So what grains can I eat on a low-carb diet? All that information coming up. In this video, we're going to go over whether grains are part of a low-carb diet. Then I'll reveal what you do eat on a low-carb diet. And finally, I'll share exactly how you can get started with a low-carb diet. So you're considering a low-carb diet and wondering if you can eat grains. Grains are naturally high in carbohydrates, so if you eat grains, you're not eating low carb. One of the most powerful benefits of a low-carb diet is that it doesn't trigger as much insulin. All foods trigger some, but you want insulin to come in, do its job, and get out. Insulin is an important hormone, very crucial. You need it to properly digest and absorb your food. But when insulin is on, your body's fat-burning hormones are turned off. You cannot lose weight in the presence of insulin. You guys have heard me say this a million times. High-carb foods like grains spike more insulin. So do starchy veggies, most fruit, and of course sugar. Yes, even raw sugar, coconut sugar, and other natural sugars. Combine that with snacking all day long, and insulin's a constant presence in your bloodstream. It's no wonder you're not losing any weight. Here's how we got into this big fat mess of thinking grains are healthy. In the 1950s, a fish biologist named Ansel Keys hypothesized that fat was responsible for heart disease. This guy was not a doctor or even a nutritionist. He was charismatic and quite frankly, he was a bully. Keys studied 21 countries, looking for proof that fat intake caused heart disease. But he cherry-picked the 7 countries that supposedly proved his hypothesis. He cared more about being right than he did about science. In the 1970s, our government passed dietary guidelines that reduced fat and increased grains. That's when our country's weight and disease problems really took off. It's also when the food industry started coming out with low-fat versions of food and more processed foods. When you remove the fat from foods, it's absolutely disgusting. The food industry is not stupid, so they added sugar to make it palatable. Sugar is why we're fat. So our foods that turn to sugar in your bloodstream, like grains, rice, and starchy vegetables, and most fruit. Before I go to my next point, as always, I love to hear from you, and I would love for you to comment below and tell me what you were raised to believe about grains. Is this the first time you're hearing this about grains? I mean, probably not, but maybe this is a huge eye-opening video for you. I would love for you just to comment below and tell me what you think. Look, I don't want to demonize grains, but they're not what they once were. They're packed with calories. They're nutritionally empty. They contain no usable fiber. They spike blood sugar the same way that regular sugar does. They trigger food cravings, making you eat more calories than you normally would without them. They change the architecture of your brain over time because they alter neurotransmitter levels. Many people are intolerant of certain grains, which means that if they eat them, they trigger an immune response, causing inflammation in the body, and they increase diabetes risk if eaten frequently. So-called healthy whole grains have nothing on the majority of veggies, fruit, and protein when it comes to nutrient density. The average Westerner gets 60% of their calories from rice, corn, wheat, and potatoes. We are producing enough wheat for 10 billion people on this planet. Well, there are only, 7.5 billion people on this planet? Why are we producing so much wheat, and what the heck are we doing with it? Well, we're producing a lot of it because the government subsidizes wheat farmers. It's so cheap to grow and produce that we are overproducing it and we're using it as a filler. Yes, it is used as a thickening agent. So you're going to find wheat in your shampoos, you're going to find it in your supplements, you're going to find it in your makeup, you're going to find it everywhere. There's so many grains all the time, and we're being overexposed to it. You're noticing that our bodies are reacting by developing autoimmune diseases. You can see one reason that diabetes and obesity are skyrocketing. Our digestive systems are simply not able to cope effectively with so much sugar so fast, so often. Healthy whole grains wreak havoc on our bodies and lead to everything from weight gain to acne to joint pain. They may even contribute to chronic conditions like fibromyalgia, IBS, and plantar fasciitis. My IBS disappeared after I stopped eating grains and sugar. Let me tell you, I understand understand those of you guys who have IBS. I totally get how miserable that was. Mine was so miserable that all I thought about was where I could find a bathroom. Like wherever I went, I had to think, are we near a bathroom just in case my IBS flared up? I know, I'm sorry if this sounds too TMI, but someone's got to talk about it. And maybe if I talk about it, you won't feel quite so embarrassed. I get it. Where's there a bathroom nearby? Am I going to be okay? Is this going to be all right while we're shopping or while we're sightseeing or while we're, touring a cathedral? I was always worried about it, and I was in so much pain, doubled over, and I had to be on medication from the pharmacy, so that was a whole ordeal, getting that all the time. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be on medication. So I get how miserable it is when you have chronic conditions. If you're considering a low-carb diet, grains are out while in weight loss mode. Yeah, I'm sorry, but they are. In maintenance, you might have them on occasion. Although when you cut them out, you may find that you feel so awful adding them back in, you won't even want them again. I can tell you firsthand as somebody in maintenance, really, anything goes. We don't restrict ourselves in maintenance. We still follow rules. We still make sure that we get on the scale every day. We still drink our water every day, and we never allow sugar to stay in our house. It always has to leave that night. It's not allowed to stay. So we do follow basic rules, and we still follow a high protein, high fat diet. But we don't live in a prison. We don't say, you can't have that, you can't have this. And occasionally I have added grains back in, and I know my safe threshold. See, there's a safe threshold for everything. There's a safe threshold for arsenic, for crying out loud. Everybody's got their own threshold. For example, I can eat jasmine rice. I do gluten-free, organic jasmine rice, and I can do 1/4 of a cup. But if I do oatmeal, Katie bar the door, I am miserable. And it's just so funny. Even an organic, gluten-free oatmeal, maybe like the real good kind from a good company, the expensive one in the expensive stores. Still, I just have this horrible reaction to them. And I don't know about you, but when I get off the grains and then I add them back in, my old injuries hurt. I have I had a couple of kids come over to my house and they were playing in the pool, and I went to throw one of them in the pool and I tore my gluteus medius. And when I eat grains, I can feel it. I can feel it back where I had that old injury 10 years ago. It just causes inflammation in my body. But I do know the amount that I can have back in. And when you get to maintenance, will help you if you decide to add certain grains back in. But not anything you need to be doing right now. We need to get the weight off of you first. I also want to say that there is a very big difference between low carb and Code Red and keto. Okay, let me tell you, low carb, the definition is that anything less than 100 grams of carbs a day is considered low carb. For Code Red, our carb intake is 10% of your intake would be net carbs. For keto, they want you more like 5% of your intake. So you got 100 grams, which is a huge improvement because the standard American diet says you should have 350 grams a day of carbs. Well, low carb is anything at or under 100 grams. And then it goes Code Red down at 10% and then keto down to 5%. My problem with the low carb is, yes, it's moving in the right direction. Yes, it's an improvement, but you're still hovering over that feel-good mark. When you get your carbs down to where I think you should be, no more than 10% of your diet, you start really feeling good because now you're training your body to tap into stored fat instead of using the sugar, which is what happens when carbs go below your neck. It just turns into pure sugar. And that way you're getting more bang for your buck. So by switching to a fat-burning body, you're more efficient, but you can't quite make that switch on a low carb diet at 100 grams per day. So you'll have to do your own experiment and find out for yourself, but I think you'll find that Code Red is the right way to go. And if you are interested in getting started with this, I would love to have you join us on our next 10-pound takedown challenge. I have them every month, so if you missed last month, there's always one coming up for a very reasonable price. You get a lot of deliverables. I come to you live every day. I teach you. We're going to track, we're going to talk, we're going to learn, and I'm going to wrap my loving arms around you and love you until you can love yourself. So join the next challenge. I linked it up below. I'll see you on the next video. Then I'll reveal they increase diabetes risk if eaten. Shoot. All right, let me do an engagement. What was the name of the video?
What grains can I eat on a low-carb diet?
Okay. And then I can riff a little bit too. All right, so